Hey, what is up, guys? Fugly here, and I just got done watching Rampage, Capital Punishment, and oh man, I gotta tell you, this movie is by far the most scariest and disturbing movie I have ever seen in my entire life. It is beyond any movie I have ever seen. Like, the first movie, Rampage, that movie was the scariest movie I've ever seen, and this movie outdid it tenfold, at least. It's insane, completely insane. It will psychologically disturb people like never before. Like all this bull crap, purge movies, these paranormal activity, they can't hold a candle to what Rampage does. Now, let's go into sort of the basics of reviewing of the movie first. This movie definitely had a bigger budget than the first going out with Rampage. Rampage Capital Punishment must have had a huge budget compared to the first. However, what I found interesting about this movie, I didn't know this going into the movie, but Brendan Fletcher helped Ubel. I don't know how to say his name. It's like Uable. He helped write the movie, and this movie is extremely well written. It is, for its purposes, this movie is just, it hits the nail on the head. This is one of, for what it's trying to get at, which I don't agree with because I'm a rational person and I don't think going out and killing people is a good thing. But for those that have that radical, extremist, anti-society view, this is the perfect drug for them. This is the ultimate fuel for them. This movie just is mind-blowingly well written for that. They bring in stuff from like Edward Snowden, they bring in stuff from Julian Assange. They wrap that all together and make them these heroes and these martyrs, and then they go in and make all this bad stuff about Washington, the government, and it's just the perfect reflection of our current generation. Sorry. I know so many people that would agree with this movie and his views, but the way he goes about it is he goes and kills people, and it's just so disturbing. But the thing is, so many people would agree with his manifesto, and I'm worried that people are going to get inspired by this and try to act out. They're going to make a hero out of Bill Williamson and want to be like him. And it's just crazy, but I need to get back into the basics of reviewing. Anyways, Brendan Fletcher helped write this, and you can tell that he has matured so much as an actor since he did the first Rampage movie. His skills have gotten infinitely better in every single way. It was actually terrific. He became the character of Bill. He nailed it. I think part of it had to do with is he helped write it, and he just became Bill. He became Bill, and it was absolutely disturbing. But every actor did good. I can't remember the guy that played the newscaster, but I've seen him in other stuff. He's had like minor roles on like The Mentalist and stuff. I saw him on there. And, you know, he just does guest starring roles. And he's not that big of a name. I can't even remember what it is. But he did a fantastic job. Just absolutely terrific. And, and Uwe Boll even wrote a role for himself in this movie. It was very fitting. It was very interesting to see. And this movie is just a giant love letter to the first movie. See, that's problem with some sequels is they need to be able to do two things, and it's almost contradictory. They need to be able to be a good movie on their own. They need to be able to support themselves, so someone that hasn't seen the first movie still see the second and watch it and love it. And another thing that they have to do that is almost contradictory is they can't completely write off the first movie like it never happened. So there has to be this balance between that, and it is almost impossible to achieve it, but this movie actually did achieve it, which is surprising. I didn't think it could. But this movie, on its own, people would still get the message, would still get the point, they can still love the movie without seeing the first movie. However, it acknowledges the first movie. There's so many flashbacks to the first movie. There's so many different things tied in to the first movie that you don't have to see the first movie in order to get the plot, but let's just say fans of the first movie, there is a lot of Easter eggs in this movie for you. It is just littered with Easter eggs, and I loved seeing it. It was absolutely fantastic. Just all these Easter eggs of the first movie all over. I was like, yep, this is great. It did what sequels need to do. Like, I didn't think Rampage could have a sequel, but I sure am glad it has a sequel, because this movie is an absolute love letter to the first one, and it even surpasses it. It is just phenomenal. The music score is extremely similar to the first one. I think they remixed it a little bit, but it's still close enough to where you can tell it's like the first theme to the first movie, so you feel like you're definitely watching a Rampage movie. Yeah, just everything was tied in very well together. You can tell even Uwe Boll as a director has improved. He's gotten better over time, and I don't know how, but somehow we got a bigger budget to do this, so people are starting to have more faith in him, which I think is good, because he's doing something for the movie industry that no one else is really doing. And yeah, so that's just the basics of it, but I'm just scared to think of what people are going to do once they see this movie. If they get inspired to do stuff, it's going to be insane. It's going to be terrible. If the wrong person watches this, there's going to be some terrible headlines in the future, because they wrap it all in and they make a complete hero out of Bill and make him the good guy, even though he's going out and killing tons of innocent people. And especially with like what's going on in Ferguson, they paint the police and the government as bad guys, and then when Bill is killing the police and he's defeating them, like, the movie makes you root for Bill, and you're like, oh good, he got the police, he got the cops. And just with the tension in Ferguson right now, see, a good movie is a good reflection of the current times. Like Citizen Kane, it was a good reflection of its time. The Wizard of Oz was a good reflection of its time, and just all these well-celebrated movies are good reflections of its times. Rampage Capital Punishment is the best reflection of our current generation I have ever seen. There's not been a movie like this yet, and it perfectly reflects my generation and how we view the world. It is phenomenal. It is by far the scariest movie I've ever seen. So to put a score on this, I'm still debating on whether giving it a 9.5 or a perfect 10. I don't know if I'm really ready to give it a perfect 10, kind of like Guardians, so I don't want to throw out a 10 just yet. And I'm surprised I'm even giving my second review that high of a score already, but this movie was phenomenal. Right now I'm going to settle on a 9.5 for right now, but I may do an update to this review once I have more time to think about it. And I might even bump it up to a 10 out of 10 just because it is the scariest movie I have ever seen, and it was just perfectly well written to the point that it was trying to get across, even if I disagree with it. Yeah, wow. What a movie. I would recommend it, but I'm scared to who I might recommend it to and what they might do after watching the movie. So watch at your own risk and show it to other people at your own risk. Thanks for watching.